You ever wake up in the middle of the night, eyes wide open, heart feeling too awake for the hour? Maybe it's 2 a.m., maybe it's 4. Either way, you know the struggle. The house is quiet, the world outside is sleeping, but you're stuck in this space between night and morning. And as the minutes tick by, the frustration builds. You start thinking about everything you need to do tomorrow, everything you didn't do yesterday. Maybe you reach for your phone. Maybe you toss and turn, hoping sleep will come back like a lost dog that wandered off. But it doesn't. And suddenly, the night feels long, longer than it should. If you've ever found yourself in this place, you're not alone. And I'll tell you something. You don't have to stay stuck there. Falling back asleep is an art, a skill, and like all skills, it can be learned. It's not just about closing your eyes and hoping for the best. It's about understanding the rhythm of your body, the tricks your mind plays, and the quiet wisdom of knowing what to do when sleep slips away from you. So let's talk about it. No gimmicks, no magic tricks, just simple, tried and true wisdom that has stood the test of time. First, let's get one thing straight. Waking up in the middle of the night is not unnatural. It's not even a problem until you start fighting it. For most of human history, people didn't sleep in one long stretch. They had what's called segmented sleep. They'd sleep for a few hours, wake up for a bit, maybe talk, maybe pray, maybe just sit quietly, then go back to sleep until morning. This was normal. It's only in modern times that we decided sleep should be one uninterrupted 8-hour block. So if you wake up at 3 a.m., don't panic. Don't start telling yourself you're broken or that something is wrong. That's the first mistake most people make. They get frustrated, and frustration wakes you up even more. Instead, try this. Accept it. Take a deep breath. Let go of the idea that you have to be asleep right now. Because the more you force it, the more elusive it becomes. Sleep is like a river. If you try to grip it too tightly, it slips right through your fingers. But if you let go, if you allow yourself to float with it, it'll take you where you need to go. Now, once you've let go of that pressure, the next step is to listen to your body. What is it trying to tell you? Are you too warm? Too cold? Is your mind racing? Are you uncomfortable? Sometimes, the reason you woke up is small, simple. Maybe your pillow isn't right. Maybe you need a sip of water. Maybe you just need to turn over and find a better position. Little things make a difference. Instead of tossing and turning mindlessly, make small adjustments with intention. Then, there's your breath. The way you breathe at night is different from the way you breathe during the day. When you're asleep, your breath is slow, deep, rhythmic. But when you wake up, especially if you're frustrated, it becomes shallow, uneven. That's why one of the easiest ways to trick your body back into sleep is to breathe like you're already there. Try this. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Hold for 4, exhale for 8. Do it again and again. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. This signals to your nervous system that it's safe to relax. You're not in danger. There's nothing to worry about. Just this moment, just this breath. And speaking of worry, let's talk about the mind. Because let's be honest, most of the time when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's not because your bed isn't comfortable. It's because your mind is running laps. Thoughts about work, about relationships, about things you need to do, things you regret, things you wish you had said or hadn't said. The mind loves to chatter in the quiet of the night. And the problem is, the more you engage with it, the more awake you become. So here's a simple trick. Don't argue with your thoughts. Don't try to push them away or force yourself to stop thinking. That never works. Instead, become an observer. Imagine your thoughts as clouds drifting by. Don't chase them. Don't hold on to them. Just watch them. If a worry pops up, acknowledge it, then let it drift away. You can deal with it in the morning. Right now, your only job is to rest. Some people find it helpful to count backwards. From 100, others repeat a simple phrase in their head, something soothing, something rhythmic. It's not about silencing the mind, it's about redirecting it, giving it something gentle to hold on to so it doesn't run wild. And if all else fails, get up. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes the best way to fall asleep is to stop trying for a little while. Get out of bed, sit somewhere quiet with low light. Read something calm. Write something down if your mind is cluttered. Keep it simple. No bright screens, no checking the clock over and over. Just a few minutes of peaceful wakefulness. And then, when you feel your body naturally growing heavy again, go back to bed. The key here is trust. Trust your body. Trust that sleep will come. It always does. Maybe not the second you want it to, but it will. The night is long, but it's not endless. And neither is wakefulness. If you approach it with patience, with understanding, sleep will return. Like an old friend, like a tide rolling back in. Now that we've talked about the mindset and those first simple steps, let's dive deeper into what's really going on when you wake up in the middle of the night. Because understanding this is half the battle. Your body is not trying to sabotage you, even though it might feel that way at 3 a.m. There's a rhythm to your sleep, a cycle that repeats itself every 90 minutes or so. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, and back again. Sometimes you naturally surface from these cycles, hovering between sleep and wakefulness. And that's normal. But why do some nights feel harder than others? Why do you sometimes slip right back into sleep, and other times you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling? One reason is simple: stress. And it's not always the big, obvious stress that keeps you up. Sometimes it's the little things, the email you forgot to send, the conversation you're dreading, the quiet worries that hum in the background of your day. These things often go unnoticed when you're busy, but at night, when everything is still, they get louder. Your mind grabs onto them like a dog with a bone, and before you know it, you're lost in a spiral of thoughts. That's why it's important to give yourself a proper wind-down routine before bed. Not just for falling asleep initially, but for staying asleep too. Think of it this way. If you go to bed with a mind that's still buzzing, still carrying the weight of the day, it's like trying to park a car without turning off the engine. It might sit still for a while, but sooner or later, it's going to roll forward. Your mind needs time to slow down, to shift gears from active to restful. And if you don't give it that time, it'll take it in the middle of the night instead. So, what does a good wind down look like? It's not complicated. It's about signals. Your body responds to cues: light, sound, temperature, routine. Dim the lights an hour before bed. Turn off the screens. Let your brain know that the day is done. Maybe you read a book, listen to soft music, or just sit quietly with your thoughts. Whatever you choose, keep it consistent. Because routine is powerful. It tells your body, hey, it's time to let go now. But even with the best routine, you'll still have nights when you wake up. That's life. And when it happens, one thing that can help is understanding what your body needs in that moment. Sometimes it's physical. Maybe you've had too much caffeine too late in the day. Maybe you ate something heavy right before bed. Or maybe you haven't moved enough during the day and your body is restless. Small lifestyle changes, like cutting off caffeine after noon, eating lighter dinners, and getting regular exercise, can make a big difference. There's also the matter of light. We don't realize how much light affects our sleep. Even that, tiny glow from your phone, the streetlight through the window, or the alarm clock by your bed can disrupt your body's natural rhythms. Your body needs darkness to produce melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep. So if you find yourself waking up often, check your surroundings. Make your room as dark as possible. Blackout curtains, eye masks, whatever it takes. It might seem like a small thing, but sometimes the smallest changes have the biggest impact. And then there's the mind again. Because let's be honest, even if everything in your environment is perfect, your mind can still keep you up. One of the Biggest culprits? The clock. How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night, looked at the clock and thought, "Great, only 3 hours until I have to wake up." And then the countdown begins. Every time you check the time, you add to your stress. You start calculating, worrying, convincing yourself that you're never going to fall back asleep. And guess what? That worry makes it even harder to sleep. Here's some old wisdom for you. Turn the clock away. Don't check the time. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. Knowing the time won't help you sleep. It'll only make you anxious. And anxiety is the enemy of rest. Let go of the clock. Trust that your body knows what to do. Another thing that helps is having a mental, safe space. Something you can focus on that brings you comfort. For some people, it's a memory, maybe a peaceful place they visited, or a moment when they felt calm and happy. For others, it's a visualization, imagining themselves floating on a quiet lake or walking through a forest. It doesn't have to be complicated, just something that makes you feel safe, warm, at ease. When your mind starts to race, gently guide it back to that space. It's like giving your thoughts a soft pillow to rest on, instead of letting them run wild. And remember, your bed should be a place of rest, not stress. If you find yourself lying there, tossing and turning for more than 20 minutes, get up. Not to start your day, not to do something stimulating, but to reset. Sit quietly, stretch, read something soothing. Give your mind a chance to settle. And then, when you feel ready, go back to bed. Your body will thank you for it. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Sleep is not something you can force. It's something you allow. And sometimes, the most restful nights come when you stop trying so hard. So next time you find yourself awake in the middle of the night, take a deep breath. Trust that sleep will come back. It always does. Sometimes all it needs is a little space, a little time, and a little grace. Now that we've laid the groundwork, understanding why waking up in the middle of the night happens and how to gently guide yourself back to sleep, let's talk about something just as important: your relationship with sleep itself. Because sometimes the reason we struggle isn't just physical or mental, it's emotional. We live in a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, achieve more, be more. And that pressure doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Even in our sleep, we feel the weight of it. We treat rest like it's another task on our to-do list, another thing we need to get right. And that mindset? It's exhausting. Think about it. How often do you go to bed thinking, "I need to fall asleep fast so I can be productive tomorrow"? Or wake up in the night thinking, "If I don't fall back asleep soon, I'll be useless in the morning"? We've turned sleep into a performance, something we measure and judge. And when we don't meet our own expectations, we punish ourselves with worry and frustration. But sleep isn't something you can control with sheer willpower. It's something you surrender to. Like an old friend you invite in, not a prize you have to earn. One of the biggest pieces of old age wisdom I can share with you is this: let go of the need to control everything, especially your sleep. The more you try to force it, the more it resists. Sleep is like the tide. It comes and goes naturally. And when you trust that, when you allow yourself to flow with it instead of against it, the nights become easier. Not perfect, but easier. So how do you build that trust? It starts with acceptance. Accept that some nights will be restless. Accept that waking up is part of the process. Accept that you're human. When you stop fighting reality, you free yourself from a lot of unnecessary stress. Instead of lying awake thinking, "Why can't I just fall asleep?" you start to think, "It's okay. This is just a moment. It will pass." That shift in perspective might seem small, but it's powerful. And then, there's gratitude. I know. It sounds simple, maybe even cliché, but there's a reason it's been passed down through generations. When you're lying awake in the dark, instead of counting the hours you have left to sleep, try counting your blessings. not in a forced, mechanical way, but genuinely. Think about the things that bring you joy, the people you love, the moments that made you smile. Gratitude softens the mind. It quiets the noise. And in that quiet, sleep often finds its way back to you. Another thing to remember is that rest is not just physical, it's emotional and mental too. Even if you're not fully asleep, allowing yourself to lie quietly, breathing deeply, and letting go of tension is still beneficial. Your body is still healing. Your mind is still resting. Don't discount that. Sometimes the pressure to fall back asleep can be more exhausting than the wakefulness itself. So give yourself permission to just rest without expectations. There's also wisdom in simplicity. In today's world, we're bombarded with endless advice on sleep, apps, gadgets, supplements, strict routines. And while some of those things can help, don't underestimate the power of simplicity. A comfortable bed, a dark room, a calm mind, a deep breath. These are the timeless tools that people have relied on for centuries. And often, they're all you really need. Let's talk about rituals. Not the complicated ones, but the small, personal rituals that bring you comfort. Maybe it's a cup of herbal tea before bed. Maybe it's a few minutes of stretching or listening to a favorite piece of music. Maybe it's simply lighting a candle and watching the flame flicker. Rituals give your mind a signal that it's time to unwind. And when you wake up in the night, revisiting those rituals can help you find your way back to sleep. Even something as simple as taking a deep breath and whispering to yourself, "It's okay, I'm safe," it can be a powerful ritual. And if you're someone who struggles with an overactive mind at night, consider keeping a notebook by your bed. Not for long, detailed journaling, but for simple brain dumping. When a thought keeps circling in your head, write it down. Get it out of your mind and onto the page. It doesn't have to be profound or polished. Just a few words to capture the thought so your mind can let it go. There's something freeing about seeing your worries on paper, outside of yourself. It's also worth mentioning that not every moment of wakefulness is a problem. Sometimes, those quiet hours in the middle of the night can be moments of reflection, creativity, even peace. Some of history's greatest thinkers, writers, and artists found inspiration in those hours when the world was asleep. Maybe instead of seeing your wakefulness as an inconvenience, you can see it as an opportunity. An opportunity to connect with yourself, to listen to your inner voice, to find stillness in a busy world. And often, once you stop resisting and start embracing the moment, sleep comes back naturally. But through all of this, be gentle with yourself. Sleep is a fragile thing, easily disturbed by stress, worry, and self-criticism. Treat yourself with kindness. If you wake up in the middle of the night, don't beat yourself up. Don't panic. Don't spiral. Just breathe. Trust. And remember that you're not alone. Every night, millions of people are lying awake, just like you. As we come to the end of this conversation, let's take a moment to reflect on something important. The way we experience our nights is often a reflection of how we live our days. If your days are rushed, filled with tension, noise, and constant demands, it's no surprise that your nights feel restless. The mind doesn't have an off switch. It carries the weight of the day into the quiet of the night. And sometimes, that weight is what wakes you up, holding you hostage when all you want is to drift back into sleep. So, if you truly want to find peace in the night, start by finding peace in your day. I'm not saying life will ever be completely stress-free. No one's is. But there are choices we can make, small choices that add up over time, like giving yourself moments of stillness during the day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Sitting quietly with your thoughts, breathing deeply, and allowing your mind to slow down. These little pauses train your mind to recognize rest, to feel comfortable with stillness. And when you wake up at night, that familiarity with calm can be your anchor. There's also something to be said about how we handle our emotions during the day. Many of us push our feelings aside, telling ourselves we'll deal with them later. But later often comes when the world is asleep and you're lying in bed with nothing but your thoughts. Unresolved emotions have a way of creeping up in the middle of the night. That's why taking time each day to process what you're feeling is so important. Whether it's through talking to someone you trust, writing in a journal, or simply sitting with your emotions, acknowledging them, instead of avoiding them, can make your nights more peaceful. And let's not forget about the role of gratitude, not just as a nighttime practice, but as a daily habit. When you start to see the good in your life during the day, it becomes easier to let go of worry at night. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what's wrong to what's right. And that shift, subtle as it may seem, can make all the difference when you're lying awake in the dark. But beyond all the techniques, tips, and habits, there's one truth that stands above the rest: patience. The older I get, the more I realize that most things in life, sleep included, can't be rushed. They happen in their own time, in their own way, and the more we fight them, the harder they become. So, if you find yourself awake at night, remember this: be patient with your body, with your mind, with yourself. Sleep will come. It always does. Sometimes all it takes is a little time, a little grace, and a little trust. And on those nights, when sleep feels far away, remember that even in the stillness of the night, you are resting. Even when you're not fully asleep, your body is healing, your mind is recharging. Don't underestimate the power of rest, even if it's not perfect. Give yourself permission to let go of the need for perfect sleep. It's not about counting hours or meeting expectations. It's about giving yourself what you need, in whatever form it comes. As the night stretches on, let these words be a gentle reminder: you are not alone. Every night, countless others lie awake, just like you. And just like you, they will find their way back to sleep. Not through force, not through frustration, but through patience, understanding, and a quiet trust in the body's natural rhythms. So, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let yourself be. Sleep will come. It always does.